Hey, this is Tim Sykes, millionaire mentor and trader, and today I have a very special guest. I am about to speak with the one and only James Altucher, who I think is one of the best bloggers in the world. He's also made several $1 million with his kind of crazy investments, and I'm gonna ask him a few questions about his success. We go way back. When I was living in New York and we were at thestreet.com together. He's a really funny and interesting guy. It's not just about the money with him. It's about thinking different and really learning. Every single story that he has, I just learn something or I'm entertained because he has such a unique view on the world. So I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't seen him in it's been a little while. It's been too long, but we're gonna hang out again. But I was fortunate enough to get him to talk to you guys and me just about what's in his head and the secrets behind his success. Because he's had quite a bit of success, from a few $1,000s to several million also. And I think that it'll be really cool for you to hear his story. So get ready. I'm gonna call James right now. Are we live? We are live with the one and only James Altucher. James, good to see you.
Tim Sykes.
How's it going, man?
Good to see you.
How you been?
Good. It's amazing we're able to walk through the World Wide Web across 3,000 miles.
This was not possible just a few years ago. This was not possible. And I think in a few years, I'll be able to touch your head and feel you, if I wanted to do that.
We'll touch each other. It'll be kind of homoerotic, but we can handle it.
I think that might be the future of technology. It's like Demolition Man is coming true. Did you ever see that movie?
I did not, but I've seen all the other ones.
There you go. So today I brought James on. He is one of the smartest, most connected, just most interesting people that I've ever met. And I think that with his literally decades of experience, and very humble too, decades of experience on Wall Street and seeing all the crazy stuff that these companies do. I think that he can give some good insight just to help you understand finance and Wall Street and technology and society a little bit better. So James, thank you again for taking the time.
Tim, thanks so much. As you know, I've always been a huge fan. We've known each other over a decade now. I've spoken at your conference in Las Vegas. We go back. We have stories.
We were in Hebrew school together.
Pretty much.
So,
I did
go ahead.
I did go to your 27th surprise birthday party, and I had a plan of a gift along the way. I was going to buy you this huge 6-foot trophy, but then the trophy store was closed, so I didn't do it.
It's all right. I remember that surprise party. It was delicious. We were at JoJo in New York, and the chickpea fries were amazing.
Yes.
Anyways, let's start the ground. Let's start hitting the ground right now. What is your number one tip for investors and traders these days? What can they do to really maximize their wealth right now?
The most important thing to do is to be, and this is whatever you do in life, is to be humble and really know how to express your humility. So with investing, I don't say, oh, I'm a genius. I'm the one person out of 6 billion who can predict the long-term direction of the markets. Are around you and learn from them. So there are hedge fund managers who are legitimate, who are good, who, because of my decades in the hedge fund world, I'm able to call them or write them or learn from them and say, hey, what are you investing in? Why are you investing in it? What looks good to you? And then I gather all that information, and that's the beginning of my due diligence. It's not the end. I don't take their word for it blindly. I look for. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to look to the smartest person in the room. If I was day trading, Tim, I would look to you. Investing, I look to the long-term investors, the big multi-billion-dollar hedge fund managers that I know.
Cool. So, with that in mind, can you tell us one crazy story of, you're known for crazy stories. I'm a big fan of your blog. I managed your blog in the beginning, if you remember correctly, but then you blew up and you went big time, and I was just a small time blog manager. If you could tell us one crazy story that you haven't told your blog audience, something unique that you've learned from a hedge fund manager or, random billionaire that because I know you know a lot of them. It doesn't have to be educational. It can just be interesting and something that you wouldn't have expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is that, I mean, I'm trying to think of what kind of story you want. I could give you like romantic or stock advice, but I'll stick with the investing world, which is that opportunity is very much still here. You could turn on the news and you hear reporters saying, "Oh, the world is going to hell. Gold is going to do this. The Fed's going to do that." Hedge fund managers don't care about that at all. They don't even watch the news. They don't care about the Federal Reserve. They where opportunities are happening. And there's opportunities right now that are simmering beneath the surface in technology, biotechnology, oil, energy technology. And I see these stories all the time where, people come up to me and say, "Look, did you look at this company? They own, 10 oil fields that are drilling oil. No one's even looking at them, and the oil is only a few feet below the ground. The stock's out there, but nobody knows about it." And again, becomes the beginning of my due diligence, where I start to look at a stock like this. Oh, it's only worth $30 million, but they're already drilling, X millions of dollars worth a year, with oil prices going up right now. So, things like that I hear all the time and I see all the time. And again, it's the beginning of my research.
I think it's interesting what you brought up, how, hedge fund managers don't watch the news. I was a hedge fund manager for a little bit. You were a hedge fund manager for a little bit. And the key to, being a successful hedge fund manager is really obviously generating performance, generating alpha when the whole market maybe isn't doing that much, but thinking differently. And I think more people watching this especially should start to think differently. Instead of just saying, "Oh, this is a good company, this is a bad company," investing like Warren Buffett where you might get rich, 50 years later. I mean, you and I have both made several $1,000,000 in just a few years in some very non-traditional strategies. Do you think non-traditional strategies are right for more people? Because, I know there's some controversy where some people think, average people shouldn't be entitled to this. And I think average people definitely should, and more than just be, given a shot. They should actually really pursue these non-traditional strategies so that, like $2,000 or $5,000 doesn't just grow 10 or 20% per year, but can grow to like 200,000, or, like my top student has grown 1,500 into 3 million in 4 years. You can't get that with buy and hold.
No, it's true. And what I always think is that the way hedge funds are set up is kind of a government-driven scam. Like, you have to have so many millions of dollars, you have to make so much money, and then you can finally invest in a hedge fund, as if that makes you a qualified investor. When, all of those people invested in Bernie Madoff, how qualified were they? But the reality is, this is why I like to get these ideas from the top hedge fund investors and then share them with people who might not be necessarily qualified or accredited investors, or don't want to pay the massive fees to a hedge fund manager. Look, get the word out there that there's innovation happening in America. Here's where it is. It's easy to invest in. It's on the stock market. It doesn't have to be in this select 1% club. It could be in, among the people we know, among the people who know you, among the people who know me. We can all share these so-called secrets. They're not really secrets. They're out there. But I rather let, again, people smarter than me do the bulk of the research, and then I'll take over from there. I don't need to fly around and check every oil field, as long as I know this guy did it. But then I could start to read.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you're
the worst, but I think you can't just buy Apple and expect to get rich at this point. You got to find things when they're still at $5 and then see.
Yeah, I mean, the real opportunities CNBC and these big media companies, they don't talk about, because they don't think that it's right for, small-time investors or small-time traders. And so my question to you, I was going to ask you what you were going to be for Halloween. Are you going to be, Robin Hood for Halloween? Because you're basically taking from the rich, the picks from the rich, and giving them to, the average and middle class.
I used to try to do that, because I would go on CNBC with these picks, and then CNBC changed the rules because of me. They finally said you can't talk about anything below $1 billion cap anymore. And where's the opportunity if it's something's already $1 billion and everyone knows about it?
I brought some female models on CNBC, and they said I can't bring female models on CNBC anymore. So I'm actually banned from CNBC. They don't like different, and I don't know why. The whole live audience that I had, they were clapping. They liked the girls. I was just trying to make it entertaining. Finance can get boring. Come on.
Tim, I was there that day. I was standing 5 feet from you that day.
Melissa Francis was not a fan. She worked her whole life to, not be involved in stuff like this. So I feel bad. Where is she now? Only Roger Ailes knows.
Right, exactly. So where's he now? So the whole thing is, you asked before, can investors benefit from non-traditional strategies? Look, we all know the average investor loses money. So you kind of have to do the opposite of what the average investor does. It's like that Seinfeld show where George does the opposite of what he always does.
That was a great episode. Opposite George.
Right.
Oh, he was such a badass in that episode. I love that.
So not everyone is going to be a subscriber to what you do, for instance, because they're going to say, oh, this guy he's untraditional. He's not, I'm going to just keep reading the Wall Street Journal and doing my thing. But the reality is, everybody in history who has made money on the markets has done the exact same thing, which is do the opposite of what 99% of the people are doing. So these are the kind of strategies you have to do. Whether it's short term, whether it's long term, you kind of have to go off the beaten path.
I agree 100%. Remember, 90 to 95% of traders lose. The vast majority of investors fail to beat the S&P 500 every year. So these guys are all doing the same thing. So why are you doing that if you want to be different? It's pretty logical, but it's tough to think outside the box. I was fortunate. I was a philosophy major. What did you major in, James?
Computer science.
Oh, there you go. So you have a little bit of an edge in the technology world now because you understand it, and I know you're on the board of like a million different little technology companies.
Well, and the thing is, too, I used to write software to model the markets. That's what I originally based my first in this, when the big guys are going to hire 1,000 computer scientists smarter than me. B, I have to be humble. And C, again, I got to know some of the best hedge fund managers in the world, and I can it's as if they work for me for free. I could just call them. I don't have to give them their huge fees, and I could say, what are you working on? They're happy to tell me. They're already invested. They want other people to know about their stocks, but I get to piggyback on their research. It's almost as if they're my interns for free.
And that's a great point that you bring up. I mean, I love the way that you're plucking through your Rolodex. I mean, Rolodex is an old way. You're plucking through your Skype connections, all your various connections. And again, because these people want others to know about their thesis, they want to tell you, but they're not just going to tell anybody because they know you. And I think that's where your edge comes in. So I know you say you want to try and remain humble, but if I were you, I have problems with being humble, but if I were you, I would be like 50 times cockier. I would want that 6-foot trophy. I would want 2 of them.
Well, I've done well with investing, but again, it's only when I stopped thinking I was smart. So, and I can't break that discipline. Every single time I invest in something, it's because I know many people smarter than me have done the hard work, but nobody yet knows about the stock or the company or whatever. And look, you and I have done some investments together where there were some very smart investors, and we made money because of that together. And the strategy works.
Yeah, no, well, I agree 100%. One final question before I let you go. What do you think, this is such a tough question. What do you think people should be doing right now, like in the next day after watching this video? Not like 3 months or 6 months or like a year. What's something actionable that they can do right now and change their life and their mindset and their bank account too?
Well, I'm a big believer in the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. So look at your students as an example. They decided, okay, I'm not going to fool around with all these day trading scam strategies. I'm going to focus on learning from Tim Sykes, who's the best in the industry. And once you start gravitating towards the people who are the best in what you want to do, you're going to be the best at what you want to do. And that does change your bank account. That changed my bank account. When I started spending time only and you can't make any exceptions. When I started spending time only with the best people around me, then that's when my bank account went up by millions of dollars. That's when I got healthier, felt better, had better relationships, and so on. In terms of stocks, anyone could turn on CNBC and say buy Apple, but that's not going to help you in the long term. What's going to help you in the long term is finding the best long-term investors and financial minds out there and learning from them and spending time with them and reading their books and understanding what they do and then doing your research.
And I agree with that 100%, especially in my little niche where, there's thousands of penny stocks and people are like, how do you focus on what are the best ones? They all have amazing sounding stories. They all have these technologies that could change the world, but you can focus on just the top ones because again, most are scams. It's no different than Wall Street or finance. Most people who work on Wall Street or finance, they're underperforming, they're mediocre. You have to focus on the biggest winners in the stock market and in life. And I think that's a great lesson for everybody.
I agree.
Cool, man. Well, thank you again. I know you're busy, but I appreciate you taking the time for myself and my audience. And I look forward to seeing you in person soon, not just through the computer.
Yeah, have me back at one of your conferences.
That would be great, man. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. All right, so I just wrapped that cool little call with James. Went fantastic. Some really good advice, some really outside the box thinking, but he's also prepared a longer video, which I want you to watch. We only had a few minutes. He's a busy guy. He's greatly in demand. This took a lot of prodding to even set up. But this video that I'm gonna link just below this video, must watch. You really need to get inside of his head and think the way that he does. Again, most people think that the way that we invest, the way that we've made millions is kind of crazy, but that's the way you actually make millions in a few years. You're not going to do it, as James said and I said, by buy and hold. Buying Apple maybe a few years ago would have been good, but now Apple is irrelevant. Amazon is irrelevant. They've already gone up too much. So watch this video that James made, and I think you'll learn a lot.